Good morning, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? Well, we got some ball games today. We're going to go over the NFL. We hit Buffalo yesterday, 24-10. See, the difference between us and everybody else, we do an analytical look of it. We say Buffalo's a better team, da-da-da-da-da. We get the expected outcome by arriving at it, right? So I'm listening to these idiots on the radio. I like New England because they're getting 3.5. This is the problem with people like that. This is why I tell you to be careful if you're going to listen to them, how long to take them. So basically, they give New England for no reason, just because they're getting 3, because they're analyzing the point spread, which is why I start without the point spread. Who do you think is going to win the game? Well, Buffalo needs it. They're second place to Miami. They have to win the game, and they're the much better team. They win 24-10, easy win. We got them in the teaser with another pro team. So it's a piece, it was very easy. So what I've done, I played 10-team teasers with several of the team here. And so I'm asking them, do you need some pros to go with the college? So I've given 3 or 4. So now in the pros, I have found one lock. It actually goes here. 2 locks. And 3 locks. I have found 3 locks in the pros. So hoping for a very good week. So I'm feeling more comfortable with the pros, figuring out the teams and everything than I was before. So let's go through the line and start there. So I'm going to refresh it. So now we start with the Jets. Mini 344.5 hasn't changed. Baltimore 8.5, 39.5 hasn't changed. Pitt Atlanta, Pitt 1.5, 42.5. So it's funny. It starts at Atlanta 1.5. Pitt wins the game Monday night, goes to Pitt minus 1.5, and then just sits there. So you wonder, was there that much money bet on Monday after Monday night's game, and then it stopped, or does Vegas just change this? My spread's Atlanta minus 3 all day at home. Pitt's not that good. They got to win, but they're, okay, but they're still not that good. Philly 4.5, 44.5. Detroit 51.5. Stayed the same. Washington 1.5 and 40. Down from 2.5. And it's been 40. Cleveland 7, 46.5. Green Bay 3.5, 44.5. That line's been going all over the place. 3.5, 44.5. Up from 43.5. We'll talk about that game. Seattle and the Rams. Seattle 7.5, 40.5. Frisco 3.5, 46.5. Hasn't moved. Oakland's now a 1-point favorite. Oh my God. We might have to take San Diego here. 49.5 down from 50.5. So we like betting against San Diego because they lose all the time, but now you've made them a road dog. Now you've changed the diameter. Why is Oakland a 1-point favorite? Oh my God. KC 2.5, 52.5. Dallas 10.5, 43.5, and Tampa Bay 3.5, 40.5. So let's go through this. Pitt, Atlanta. Pitt 1.5. Let's call Pitt. They were a W team. Maybe they're a little bit better because as Pickett's getting better, they're probably more. I don't know if we'd call them an over team, but let's call them an E team. So an E, they score a little bit more in their defense, so they're kind of equal. It means usually if you score 10 points, you're a Z team. If you score like 15, you're a W. When you score 24, I don't know what to call you, so I call you an E. And then their defense, they give up. They must give up 26 or more, but that's T.J. Watt missed a lot of games, so now you've got to count T.J. Watt, which makes it more of an under. So all their numbers are all you got to change them, so they're more E under than or EE, I guess, with Pickett getting better and T.J. Watt back versus Atlanta, who's an over team. They score a lot. I don't know how they score a lot with Mariota. They really run a lot. So will a running team be able to handle Pittsburgh's defense is really the question. They're pretty good. Good question. I like the trends again. I didn't look at the trend yet on Atlanta. I'm scared to go off and then I blow up the YouTube, so I won't do that. I'll have that for you later. So basically, excuse me. Basically, I like the dog in the game. I don't know where Pitt, they beat Indy, and then everybody jumps on Pitt like, okay, look at them. As you know, there's very few teams that can be road favorites. Maybe KC, Buffalo, Philadelphia, maybe, your top 8 teams. Maybe the Niners, maybe KC, maybe Cincinnati. Pitt does not fall into this category. I like Pitt as the dog here, but I don't like him as the favorite here. So this is more take Atlanta. This game should be close. And really, you just want more than a touchdown. As far as over under 40, what is this, 40, 42.5. So as far as over under, so you go over 36 with Atlanta. I think that's very doable. 20-17. Now they didn't do it with Washington. They lost 19-13. So I don't know. Pitt's with the defense. It's a tough game because Atlanta's offense is changing a little. They're not as high powered as they've been. So it's a tough over under. I think you just take Atlanta in the 7.5. Yeah, figure a tight game. I don't see Pitt blowing them out. Atlanta, I think they're decent at home. Washington 1.5, 40.5. Washington definitely an under team. Defense getting better. Heineke scoring a little bit more. Only scored 19 on you play Atlanta to a 19-13 game. That's a bit. That doesn't show me a good offense. Atlanta does not have a good defense. The Giants are an under team. They don't score a lot. They have decent defense. I think Washington 1.5 down from 2.5. I liked Washington as the dog. I don't really like them as the road favorite here. The Giants, I don't know. They've been slipping. I think I like the game under. It's 40.5, under 46.5. I don't see a lot of points. Washington's defense is playing really well, and their offense is only so good. The Giants don't have an offense. They only got 13 on Dallas, so I think it'll be similar to that. I think it'll be a teen game again. Under 46.5, I think is a good play. Green Bay, Chicago. Green Bay. Now this spread's going all over the place. 4, 5, 3, 3.5, 5.5. Now it's 3.5. Now, what did I tell you about Fields and Rodgers? Are they playing? I don't know. This is so confusing. 1 minute I look at injuries and Fields is playing, probable, and Rodgers is questionable. Then Rodgers is playing. Now he's questionable. So I kind of like the Bears with Fields anyway. They're a very good home dog. And if Rodgers is playing, it'll be okay. But they're not really blowing anybody out. If he doesn't play, then it's even better for the Bears in 9.5. Over-unders all over. It was 42, 43.5, 44.5. So it's gone up because Fields is playing, I assume. I don't know. And look at injuries. In their little world, I've got Chicago's injuries, and I go to Fields. He's probable with the shoulder. Was a full participant in practice on Thursday. So Fields is playing. I don't know what he's going to do with his shoulder, so he can throw, but he can't throw anyway. So how much is he going to run against Rodgers? Rodgers was limited in practice on Thursday heading into week 13. Questionable with a thumb rib. Well, the thumbs he's playing with. Question is the rib. And if you hurt your ribs, and you're playing football. So, again, I'm getting a probable and a questionable. Now, Jordan Love, he looked decent on the other day. Let's go into my other injury report, covers, and see what they give us. So covers, and let me refresh. So if you go to Green Bay, so let's assume Fields is playing. That gives you an over, gives you the Bears as a solid dog because he'll get you points. And that's what's lacking in the NFL a lot is points. We think it's good defense, but it's really bad offense. Aaron Jones, questionable with the shin. A.J. Dillon is questionable with the quad. A. Rodgers. Now here, he's probable with ribs. So I got a probable with ribs. He didn't practice much. So this is what's confusing. This says probable. The other one says questionable. If I go to Chicago and go to Fields. So in Chicago, he's probably. So what do you do with it? So I think they both play. Question is how long do they play for? So that makes me like the over a lot because both teams' defense suck. Excuse me. So both teams' defense suck, and you got Rodgers and Fields. And Rodgers, we know, can light you up. Fields lights you up by himself. With the bad shoulder, he must feel he can play, and he needs to run to play. He'll probably run out of bounds or slide more, but I still see him doing his running. So this turns into an over game. 44, 43, you're going over 37, 20-17 with these quarterbacks. Banged up, but it's football. They're going to play. So I like the game over. Do I like the Bears in 9? I don't know how hurt Fields is. So I like it over more than I like that. Because even if Rodgers doesn't play much, you got Jordan Love. But Rodgers is going to play. He doesn't want to sit out. He doesn't want Jordan Love out there. So Rodgers will be playing. Fields, he's from Ohio State. He's going to play. He's mad that they lost to Michigan. So I like this game over. the Jets in Minnesota, mini laying 3. I just like the Jets here. I think they're a good team. I think it's an even game. Tease the dog. Very good defense. Jets with Wilson with White instead of Wilson look good. Again, that was against the Bears, not against the real defense. Not that Minnesota's got a better defense. Their defense still is bad. So this game should be competitive. I don't know over or under with this Jet defense, so I do think it'll be close. Take the dog. So I like the dog here. Cleveland, Houston, Cleveland 746.5. How is Deshaun Watson going to play without playing for, 2 years now? You don't just get up and throw 5 touchdown passes, right? So you don't just throw 5 touchdown passes. There's going to be growing pains. Houston, okay, so they go to Kyle Allen. He did nothing last week. Both defenses suck. I don't really know what to do. It's almost a Houston in 13, but they're so bad. And then you have, do I go over? But what do I do with Deshaun Watson? I mean, like I said, he's not going to just go out and throw 4 touchdown passes. And Houston's not that bad defensively. I mean, they're a terrible team. They still have NFL caliber players on it. I don't know that Watson just comes in and blows it up. And Houston probably wants some sweet revenge for Watson leaving. We'll see how that works. But I don't know how if Watson had played 3 or 4 weeks, he's under condition. Yeah, Cleveland -1. And here's where that one guy with his, it's 7, go to 1 without just looking at the number. This is the problem with just looking at the number, right? I don't feel comfortable Cleveland -1 because Watson hasn't played in 2 years and practice doesn't get you ready. This could easily be an upset for Houston. And I don't know how you trust Cleveland. I'd rather have Brissett out there, to tell you the truth, than I would probably take Cleveland -1. But in this situation, I can't take Cleveland -1. I can't trust Houston in 13. Both defenses suck. Probably go over would be the only thing, which is 46 down to 40, which gets me 21-20 as a winner. Do you do that? Does that get you? Like, what is that? Can you count on that? I don't know. Houston scored 10 points last week. So there's really nothing you can play here because there's 2. This is where you lay off a game. Right now, there's too much risk on on Deshaun Watson, right? There's too much risk. I don't know how he's going to play, so how can I bet the game? This is another thing where sometimes, like in poker, sometimes the best move is to fold. Sometimes the best move in betting football is not to bet the game when you really don't know. There's really no trends right now on Deshaun Watson at Cleveland. So I don't know how you can play this game. I don't know who you can trust. So I'm going to lay away from it for those reasons. Tennessee, Philly now 4.5, 44.5. I like Tennessee in the game. They played KC strong. They played Green Bay. They won at Green Bay. They're fine on the road. Philly is 11-2 as a home favorite, which means Philly will probably win the game. But we got 10.5, 11 points with Tennessee, which is huge for Tennessee. Tennessee is a very good team. You got Henry. Tannehill is okay. The defense is good. Philly, again, Hurts running. I'm sure they'll figure that out. I like Vrabel as the coach. So I think this is a dog play. I think Tennessee's very strong, and you're getting a strong dog here. Philly, we know, is good. Are they that good? I don't know they're that good. So right now I like Tennessee getting 10.5, 11 points if you can. All right, Detroit and Jacksonville. Detroit -1, over under 51.5. Detroit plays well but loses a lot. They beat Green Bay because Rodgers, even though they won, Rodgers throws 3 interceptions and all in the red zone. Green Bay, I think, punted once in the game. So what should have been a 30-point Green Bay win turns into 21 points of interceptions. So it should have been 30-15, turns into 15-9. So are Detroit that good? No, not really. Buffalo, the end, beats them. So Detroit plays a good win. Weak coaching, weak quarterback play, gets the stats. Same thing Stafford did. He'd get the stats, but he wouldn't win you the game. I just like the dog in this game. I don't think either team can be the favorite. They're both weak favorites. So as it stands now, Detroit -1, I would take the dog in Jacksonville. And over under, I think is a better play. I would take the game over 45 because Detroit, they can score on you. They'll put up their 30 points. Jacksonville, who knows what you get? You get the 7 against Houston, or do you get the 28 that just beat Baltimore? Baltimore's got a better defense than Detroit. So you're really scratching your head. Can Jacksonville score or not? So let's say they can. That makes it an easy over because Detroit gets in the 20s. So let's say Detroit gets 28. All right. So that leaves you 45, leaves you 17. So can you get a 28-17 game out of this? Can Detroit possibly hold Jacksonville under 17? I would say sometimes, but what they just did to Baltimore, I don't know. Detroit, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that mess is. I will call him back. So Detroit, you just think it's high scoring. They got weak defense. Jacksonville, no. So Detroit gets in the 20s. I think Jacksonville gets in the 20s. Detroit will play their typical game where it's a close game, pretty high, definitely 28-24, which is more than enough for a teaser here. So I like the game over. You can play Jacksonville, but do you trust Jacksonville? I like that when Jacksonville moved to a 1.5 favorite. I like Detroit in 7.5 at home. Jacksonville cannot be a road favorite, but Detroit, very lackluster. The key is play against Jacksonville. 18 is a road dog, which then makes you take Detroit +5. But I don't trust Detroit as far as I can throw them, so I'm going to go over. Baltimore, Denver. Baltimore -8.5. Over under 39.5. Denver, Russell Wilson problems all over. I guess he had a birthday that nobody came to. Who has a birthday? I go with my girlfriend. We go get steak, and that's my birthday. Or I go to the casino and play poker. That's my birthday. So Baltimore 8.5, 39.5. I like the under because Denver just has a good defense and doesn't score. They're just a typical under team. They'll score 10 in the game. They'll probably give up 20. 39.5, you go under 45.5, I think is good. Now, the question is Baltimore. They just lost to Jacksonville with a 27-20 lead with 2 minutes left. How do you do that? That does not show me a good defense at all. So do I trust Baltimore -2.5? Maybe against Denver with all the Russell Wilson problems. I think that works, but I like the game under 45.5 a lot better. But I wouldn't take Baltimore -2. If you're doing a 5-team teaser for $100, you putting Baltimore -2.5 in? Never, because you're thinking, well, they might lose it. So that's really when you get into a bind. Just pretend you're doing a 5-team teaser and try to pick 5 teams that you think will win. That you need all 5 to win. If you can do that, that's where I throw out a lot of games. So I look at. With the friends here, I'll do a 10-team teaser, and I'm struggling to find 1 or 2 of the teams because I'm going, okay, I love this game, boom, boom, boom. All the free games I gave yesterday. So I like, oh yeah, easy Fresno State. Oh yeah, easy Utah, USC over. And then you get to, do I want Michigan? Is Michigan going to play? Is Georgia going to play? And then you struggle with that going, well, what if Georgia doesn't play? What if they don't need the game, but what if with the SEC and Michigan? That's the problem. Both teams, I think, are in the playoffs. So do they play all out or not? But I don't think Michigan wants to lose to Purdue. I think they both want to win. Michigan, I know, wants to win the Big Ten. I don't see them not playing. Georgia, I think, after last year, wants to win the SEC because really they didn't win it, right? Alabama won it. I think that's still meaningful for Georgia to win the SEC. So I think they win. But that's what you got to deal with. Are they going to play, unfortunately? We don't have that problem in the pros. Most of them don't know how to play. So Baltimore, Denver, does Baltimore minus 2.5 make sense? Can you trust them against Denver? Probably you can, but Denver is not a Z team. They're just they're an under team. They score 17, give up, 16, 17. They play low scoring games. So you just have to go with it. So I think the under is the best way to play this game. Miami and the Niners 3.5, 46.5. Good defense. Let's see what's going on with Frisco here. Their running back, McCaffrey, was questionable. Let's see if he's still questionable. McCaffrey. So Garoppolo is probable. Debo is questionable with quad. McCaffrey's questionable with the knee. Mitchell's out late December and Bosa's not on here. Bosa's actually playing. I'm shocked. So we have questionables. In the NFL, questionable means you're playing. So Frisco's guys are playing. Miami's guys are playing. I don't know. My gut says to take Miami in 9.5. There's no real trend on it. Miami's not a great road dog. But again, this year's different with Tyreek Hill. San Francisco plays a lot of games where they shut out. Plays a lot of games they shut out. Where am I? So they got new trends. I apologize for the phone. So Miami's got new trends because with Tyreek Hill, Frisco, they play well, like shutting out New Orleans, but New Orleans fumbled twice at the goal line, and they beat them 13-0. So, Miami does not have a good defense. They're adequate, and a lot of that comes back to their offense. When you throw the ball and get big chunks and score quickly and do everything quickly, you don't rest your defense. This is why passing teams don't normally win. They look good. It's like the running quarterbacks. Kyler Murray runs all the way around, and he looks good, but he doesn't he looks good, but he doesn't, do anything. It's like, but they don't win. Or Lamar Jackson, he looks good. He runs for yards, but they don't win. So that's the question here. Does, Miami with the passing team, I kind of like them getting 9.5, but it's a tough one because of the defense. And you know how I like the defense over the offense. But I think Miami can get points. I think this is 24-21 type of game. Miami, can they win? Absolutely, but passing it, so it makes it tough. This type of game you win with defense. I think Frisco wins it. 46.5 is a huge number. I like that game under. Frisco's defense, you're not going to just light it up. I think this game's in the 20s, so that makes it a 40-something. 46-52, I think it's an under. I think it's Miami under. I think you take the dog. Or Frisco, you go under with that defense. I don't think Miami puts up 30. I think it'll be like the Miami-Buffalo game. They won like 2019 or something like that. Well, look at Georgia-Tennessee. They played 26-13. So you think this great offensive team scores a lot, except for when they play this great defensive team. Frisco's the #1 defense in the league as far as giving up points. So I don't think this gets high scoring at all. Miami and 9.5. Yeah, they should be able to stay close because the Niners don't really have, this super offense, but against Miami, they might. Again, the Miami head coach was the towel boy for Frisco the last few years. So I don't know if he knows anything, if he's smart enough to catch on to the plays. But so I don't know what he can steal is my point. So I think I like the game under is the best. Thinking it's the Niner defense, I'm betting, not the Miami offense, which is going to have trouble in the red zone. And defensively, they're not that strong, but the Niners aren't that strong offensively. Seattle and the Rams. Back to let's go here. So we want to see the Rams. And again, I'm getting conflicting. I get conflicting things. So here I get Matthew Stafford doubtful with the concussion, right? So what do I believe? So that's on Wednesday. He's doubtful with a concussion. However, when I go back to my scores and odds and I look at the Rams, hello. So when I look at the injuries on the Rams on scores and odds, I get Stafford did not practice Thursday, questionable with the head. So this seems to be more up to date in the fact that it's saying he did not practice on Thursday. Now, if he's in concussion protocol, you got to pass those tests. So I don't know what to do here because I don't know which one to believe. And we've already been burnt enough by injuries in college. So I believe Stafford's out. Their backup is the kid from Virginia who stinks. Seattle is very explosive. And Aaron Donald's out, which is going to make Seattle even score more. So I ended up taking Seattle -1.5, figuring that Stafford's out. They're 3-9. Why would you use Stafford? Let's use the kid. The kid's not very good. So Seattle must win the game to keep up with Frisco. 1.5. The Rams have won 3 games. They're not going anywhere. And now you've lost Aaron Donald. So even if Stanford plays, you don't have Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald they're both out. So I like Seattle here. Let's make this the free play. Seattle -1.5 as the free play. So the spread has moved from 4 to 7.5, assuming Stafford's out. It's staying at 7.5, so we assume Stafford's out, or it would go back to 6 or 5. So if we see it stay at 7.5, we like Seattle. Must-win game, explosive offense without Aaron Donald. So I'm going to go with Seattle there. Oakland, San Diego. San Diego, the best dog in the league, and now you've made him a dog. San Diego, what has gone on in this game? So let's take a quick look. And I don't know which site to go to for my injuries. So let's stay on scores and odds, and let's go to Oakland, San Diego, and figure out why this spread's moved. San Diego. Mike Williams' ankle is questionable, but we knew that. Derwin James, the safety's probable. That's good news. That's it. So nothing on San Diego has made them go from a -1 to a +1. Is it Oakland? Waller is out. Josh Jacobs is questionable with the calf. And that's it. So I don't see anything that made the line move. So therefore, I really like San Diego getting the 7. You play San Diego as the dog, especially in against this. Oakland's not a very good team. So if Oakland's going to be favored, San Diego getting 7 is a joke. I love that. I also love the over. It's 49.5. So the over goes down a point as if San Diego lost somebody. Did Keenan Allen not play? But he's not even on the injured list. So like San Diego in 7, and then I like the game over 49.5, provided there's no injury that I just didn't see. Let me go to the other site. So I'm really just going to check San Diego and see what the hell basically I'm going to look for Keenan Allen, right? So San Diego, Oakland, the Rams, San Diego. Williams is questionable, which we knew. Boza's out, which what else is new? Bunch of defensive line out. So nobody's really new out. So this is very confusing. This is just betting. This is the math guys going, the square root of pi should get, Oakland should win. So I like San Diego in 7 all day, and 49.5 over 43.5 is a joke. You've got 2 over teams, good quarterbacks, good scoring, weak defenses. This game should easily be like the Seattle lock. We had Seattle over with Seattle Oakland over was a lock last week, and they made it at halftime. And it's the same thing. It's 43.5, 44.5. San Diego, Oakland, good quarterbacks, weak defenses. So look for this to replace the Seattle Oakland lock with this game. So definitely love this game over. And now I like San Diego in 7. KC 2.5, 52.5 against Cincinnati. I like Cincy in 8.5. We got our man Chase is back. He's playing. He was due back mid-December, but he's back now. So he's playing. KC doesn't really blow anybody out. And in this type of game, they did this to Tampa Bay. They beat them 31-21. But Tampa Bay is not nearly as good as Cincinnati is this year, which is one of the adjustments you need to make. Since he's on like an 8-game winning streak, just beat Tennessee. With Chase back, look out, Burrow. They're running the ball. The defense is much better. Yes, is it revenge for Kansas City? Of course. But you don't revenge this type of game. I mean, this is just if KC had lost to Indy, well, they did lose to Indy. So if they get Indy at home, look for them to revenge it next year. But in this situation, yeah, KC's upset they lost the playoff game, but Cincinnati needs the game. So Cincinnati needs the game against Baltimore. KC doesn't need it as much. They got a 2 or 3 game lead over San Diego, and they're just chasing. They're not even chasing Buffalo. I think they're chasing. Maybe they are chasing Buffalo. Yeah. So KC still needs it for the 1 seed, but it's different needing it for the 1 seed and winning the division. There's a huge difference in the mentality of the players. If I need the game for first place in my division, it's a whole different animal. If I need it to be the 1 seed, yeah, that's at the end of the year you need it. And KC's going to play. They haven't clinched their division, but it's a little different needing the 1 seed versus needing your division. So I like Cincinnati in 8.5 here. I like the game over 46.5. Cincinnati's 9-2 as a home dog. So all the roads point to a high-scoring game here. 46.5 gets you 28-20. It's amazing how we got to sit there and analyze, can the pros get a 28-20 game? This is ridiculous. I think they can. So be the quarterback's down, they're going to score, right? So you can see late in the fourth quarter, 3 touchdowns. They got the lead. They got the lead. They got the lead. So you'll definitely get over 46 here. So I like the game over. I like Cincinnati and 8.5. Dallas 10.5, 43.5 against Indy. Indy's an under team, but Indy changing coaches, changing quarterbacks, Taylor out, Taylor in. Who the hell knows? Maybe they got an under defense. Dallas 10.5. Dallas seems to have problems with Indy. I remember a couple years ago, same thing. Dallas 10-point favorite. Indy comes in and wins the game. So Dallas is not 10.5-point favorite over anybody, especially with Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush, I could lay 10.5 with, but not Prescott. Too many interceptions. Indy with Ryan and Taylor. Indy's got enough. I don't know. I've got over and under circle because they're under defenses. Then I changed my mind going with 37.5's low. So I haven't really made up my mind on this game. I think I like this game over. I think they score. Prescott's interceptions can lead to points. Then he'll score to lead to points in Indy. So I think 37 is very over in this game. And last but not least, New Orleans, Tampa. It's a double trend for both. Tampa's 3.5, 40.5. I kind of am leaning towards New Orleans because they played the Niners tough. Tampa's like Dallas. Can they beat anybody? Do you think Tampa's going to win this game? The answer is no. New Orleans did not play bad against the Niners. They fumbled at the goal line twice. That's 14 points. So I think Tampa does not blow out anybody this year. They got massive problems on the defense. Brady and Jones and Evans are fine. They look like very strong. So I think it's New Orleans and 9.5. Over under a 40.5. I think it gets over. Tampa's defense is injured. New Orleans has a weak defense. It's so confusing because they play Frisco 13-0. Do they have an over defense or not? See, very rarely do you get this in college. You get Kansas, they give up 40 points every game, just like clockwork. So betting them over, you're going to get over. Here, I don't know what their numbers mean if New Orleans is an over, but then they played a 13-0 with the Niners, or if Tampa's an under and Tampa just played a 23-17, 17-17 with Cleveland. So it's a 34 there. And Cleveland's got a whole better offense than New Orleans. So it's coming to me. Let's Well, I'm being confused because if New Orleans has that weak defense, then Brady should light it up. I thought he'd light it up against Cleveland. I think you got to go under here. I think it's under 46.5. How did they play Cleveland 17-17? That's ridiculous. But I think it's their coaching sucks, and I think that's their problem. So let's go through. So your free pick is Seattle and LA over 40.5, over 34.5. Oh, no, that's Seattle, LA, not the over. The place Seattle is the free pick. Take Seattle -1.5 against the Rams, and we assume Stafford's not playing. If we see the spread stay 7.5, he's not. If the spread goes down to 5 or 4.5, he is, and then we'll adjust accordingly. At this point, if we have to make the bet now, we're at Caesar's Palace, and we're in line. We are betting Seattle -1.5, figuring because Stafford's out, not because the line's 7 down to 1. All right, so let's go through this again. We like Atlanta as the dog against Pitt. Washington and the Giants, we like the game under. Green Bay, Chicago, we like the game over, and we like the Bears at 9.5, but we like the over more. The Jets and Mini, 3. Let's go with that as the other free pick. So you have a free teaser. I know G likes the free teasers. So let's go with the Jets in 9 and Seattle -1.5 as your free picks. So we like the Jets in 9, obviously. Cleveland, Houston, just stay away because of Deshaun Watson. I don't know. There's no way you can sit out for 2 years, not play in a game, and just come in and light it up for 4 quarters. It's not going to happen. Almost like Houston in 13 here. I should like it over, but I don't even know how I can play the game over. That's with Brissett that they score a lot. Again, with Watson, you just don't know. Tennessee, I like Tennessee. And a half should be a close game. Or under 44.5, under 50.5. Jacksonville, Detroit, I like the dog. Jacksonville in 7, and I like the game over 45.5. Baltimore, Denver, I like the game under 39.5, 45.5. Miami and the Niners, I like the game under, and I like Miami in 9.5. Seattle and LA, I like Seattle -1.5 because I think Stafford's out. I can't play the game under because the backup will score for you, but there's 2 week with Aaron Donald out, it now becomes an over game. If Stafford does play, I would immediately go to over because you don't have Donald, you got Stafford, but Seattle can light you up. So I think it's an over if Stafford plays. If he doesn't, then it's a Seattle play. Right now, we got to assume Seattle. We like San Diego as the dog, and we like the game over 49.5, 43.5 in a Seattle games. In a San Diego Oakland game's a joke. KC, Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati in 8.5. They're playing really strong. They get Chase back. They're a good dog. KC, yeah, but offensively they're good. Defensively, Burrow will light them up. So I think you can get over 52.5 if you don't want to play Cincy and you're afraid of Mahomes. Play the game over. Burrows and Mahomes. 46 is 28-20. I can't imagine this game not being in the 20s. Dallas, Indy, I just like the game over 37.5. Prescott, his interceptions will lead the points. Then he'll score. Ryan's not bad for Indy and Taylor. Both defenses, who the hell knows? Once in a while, Dallas has a good defense. Once in a while, it doesn't. But this is a hard game to play. And New Orleans, Tampa, I like the game under, and I like New Orleans in 9.5. That's my plays. So New Orleans and that. So I'm not playing every game, of course. For that, you got to see the package, www.teaserking.com. You'll get it. If you want the whole week, you get the college and the pros. So we got 3 games tonight, so let's review those. Now, we reviewed them yesterday, but let's look at just look at the line. See if anything changed. Well, Akron Buffalo's already started. It's 9-0, so we won't go covering that one. That line went to 12.5. 7 minutes in, it's 9-0 Akron. The line went to 12.5, 54.5, from 11.5, 55. So money went on Buffalo. We got it now. Tonight's games, we got North Texas, UTSA 8.5, 69.5 has not moved, so no injury to worry about. And USC, Utah, USC 2.5, 67.5, up from 66.5. So more over betting. This does not tell me there's an injury to Rising or any of the Utah boys or the USC guys. So 6.5. Again, the free pick is take USC over with Utah. It should be a high scoring game. 61. See here, I have a lot of my expected outcome on this game is a high scoring game. And I have several samples of USC, UCLA, USC, Utah, USC. Well, they didn't play Washington and Oregon, but then I have Utah, Washington, Utah, UCLA, Utah, USC, all going in the 80s. So I have good. They lost 29-27. I don't know how the hell they lost to Florida, but that was the first. That's the problem with the first game. So, again, in the UTSA game, I like it over, but it's gone to 69.5. And then the USC game, I like over also. If you want to play a dog, play Utah an 8.5. And I would probably play UTSA down to 2.5. But North Texas they're both explosive teams. Obviously, you can tell, even if you don't know anything about the team, if you look at the line and see 69, obviously it's a high-scoring game. So that's what we have today. Let's quickly look at the line then. TCU 2.5, 61.5, hasn't moved. Toledo 3, 54.5. Now that's moved from 1.5 to 3. Maybe Toledo's quarterback's back, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Troy 8.5, 48.5, hasn't moved. Tulane 3.5, 56.5, hasn't moved. Boise 3.5, 54.5, haven't moved. Georgia 17.5, 51.5, has moved from 18.5 to 17.5 and 51.5. So the line's going. I think this is because the LSU quarterback's playing, not because Georgia's not going to try. Let's look at it. So if we look at LSU quarterback, a running back's probable with the knee. Jalen Daniels. Now here, it's unclear if he will dress for the game. So he's questionable on this site and not on the other. He's probable. It's hard to respond to this because Georgia has no injuries. Well, we know Georgia's got injuries. So let's go here and take a look. I think it's the quarterback is probably playing for LSU. Won't matter. How with this defense? So why would the number be up? The only reason that makes perfect sense is the LSU quarterback playing. Let's look at. Yeah, Georgia, no new injury. LSU. Yeah, see here, the quarterback's probable with an ankle as of yesterday. So one, he's questionable. He might not dress. That's the problem is I don't know how often they update the scores and odds site versus the cover site. Now you think it would all be the same, punch it in, same database, pull it out, but it isn't. So that explains why you would have the over, but again, they didn't put up a 50 against Tennessee. They ain't going to put up a 50 here. So I think it helps the under. And then 17.5. So it's all related to the quarterback. So if you're making those bets, you do not know Georgia very well. Because I would never bet the over in a Georgia game, especially in the 50s. It's always an under. And LSU with a decent defense, I just don't see this game being high scoring if Georgia plays. Again, that's the question mark. So it's hard for me to put Georgia in a 10-team teaser because I don't know if they're going to play. I don't know what I have here. It's just like the Cleveland game. I don't know what I have with Deshaun Watson. So how can I possibly play Cleveland? And it's the same thing here. I don't know if Georgia's going to. Now, I'll check Twitter and see. I got the Georgia I follow the Georgia, so we'll see if it says, yeah, Georgia's playing. Um, I think they will. I think that last year, if they lost, Alabama got in. So there was SEC incentive. Here, LSU's not getting in. They've lost at least 2 or 3 games. I don't see them. Didn't they just get blown out last week to Texas A&M? I think blew. Yeah, 38-23 to A&M. So I don't see LSU's not getting in. So there's no point in laying down because if you lay down and lose, you haven't done anything. LSU doesn't get in. Ohio State's next in line, so it doesn't get Alabama in. God, I hope Alabama's not in. It's so screwy that they're always in. Like they have 2 losses, should have lost 4, but they're a good team because they played a real tough schedule. I mean, it's insane. So that's what's happening in pros again. So Akron's beating Buffalo, probably a different quarterback, and we will talk. So tonight's games: North Texas, UTSA, and USC and Utah should be a beautiful game. Should be high scoring. I'd be shocked if this doesn't hit in the 40s. This should be another 80-point game. We're looking at 60. So I can't imagine this game doesn't go 31-30 at least. So that's a 60. So that's a W. That's the free play with the Fresno State free play. So that's what I am looking at. So again, your free play in the pros. So your free play, there's Fresno State SC. Your free play pros is going to be Seattle and the Jets, Jets. I've been red hot on the Jets. I think I've won 6-7 weeks in a row. Had them with Buffalo. Had them all the way. I mean, they're just because they're a strong defensive team. Now with Mike White, he looks good again, but why did they get off of him and why didn't they play him? And they run to Zach Wilson and they lose a couple of games. You're scratching your head going, what the hell are you doing? Just keep going with White. He looked good last year. I think he beat Tennessee. What the hell? You got him. What are you doing? So, and he's not a bad quarterback. So that's about it. Again, I got 3 pro locks and I got 2 college locks. I got 5 locks. Locks have been really good, probably about 85%. I'll have to add them up, but last week I hit 4 pro locks and I think I went 5-2 in the college locks. I lost Michigan, Ohio State. I lost Iowa State. And I think I lost one more. I was 4-3 in college. And that's about it. And now here's some weird stuff in my economics. So we're talking about the reset, right? That was my show on Wednesday. So I went to the rib place and asked him, and he doesn't know. They're not ready. I went to the coin place, bought some silver yesterday. I bought 10 ounces of silver. They had 4 Cougarans and a maple leaf and a Chinese coin to buy. So I might go run and buy today or tomorrow 1 more ounce of gold. I bought 10 silver yesterday. It's just aching to blow. It's just wait till the end of the year, January. I was watching my guy's show, so it's ready to blow. The derivatives are due December 31st or whatever, whatever the last day of December is. So look for this to blow real soon. Now, I went to the bank, so I took money out of my IRA to the bank. I ran to the bank and took the cash. Why do you want the money? Where did it come from? And I'm looking at them like it's none of your business where it came from. It's legal. It came from my IRA, and I tell them that because I'm honest. But what do you care? It's not your business. It's my money. I worked for it. I got it. So then I said, well, I'm using it to pay bills off. Well, basically, I'm using it to get out of your system before I lose all my money when you guys close the door and get out of the currency. So I asked the manager of the bank going, well, what's your plan on this reset? She says, well, there's nothing in place now. It'll take a while. And we'll still be here. It's not like the banks aren't going to be here. And I guess it's going to be like just an alternative like crypto is. So I don't know that y'all have to have digital, or it's kind of like crypto. Very confused. Now, I talked to my best friend who I work with at Mercedes. She's also in finance like I am. And she said she just went to Malaysia and she said there's digital currency in Malaysia for 10 years, but there's still regular currency. So there's the option. So what I'm going to believe is we're going to have US dollars, even though they'll go to zero, and we'll have this digital currency. I don't know that y'all have to get out a dollar for the current, or they'll come out with new dollars. This is so confusing because what I think normally happens, your dollar collapses and the new dollar comes out. That's what happened in Germany and Sri Lanka and Venezuela and every other place. But it's the US, so our culture is apparently different. So this is very confusing. When I get more on it, I'll let you know. All I know is in my thought process, to get my expectations, I believe that the gold and silver go through the roof. I think they switch fiat currencies for another currency. So you'll always have bills and change to use. And then I think there'll be this digital currency like crypto. So you don't have to be in Bitcoin. I don't think you'll have to be in the digital currency. According to the lady at the bank, we're not going anywhere. We'll still be, Chase is still going to be there with the customers. They roll up to the Federal Reserve. So they'll be the ones. So I don't really get it if it's going to be crypto or what person. And the banker, they'll be both. They'll be the crypto and they'll be the dollar. And I assume as the dollar loses all its value that you'll just jump on, you go to crypto or you go to the central bank stuff. But I don't know. It's very confusing. I hope Georgia Southern is selected to play in a bowl. That is close. If so, I might take my mom. She's never been to a game. Take her to Atlanta. Well, you're in Georgia. Take her to an Atlanta game. I know pros are more boring, but anyway, well, you're welcome, Sean. It's always a pleasure. So that's where I'm at with that. It's the way they're making it sound, but I think it's in different countries. My bank said the government wants no cash, everything debit card. Yes, I agree with you, Seven, but I don't know if that's easier said than done. I don't know that they can get out of cash because you want to tip the doorman, you want to pay for a taxi with cash. What are you going to do? I was just in Lisbon. All the cabbies took cash. I had to go get euro. I had to get ATMs with my debit card to get euros. How do you pay for something if they don't take it? And so if the government wants everything in a debit, is it going to be a government debit card? If so, all the stores have to be able to accept it. How do I put money into the debit card? I don't have an account at the central bank. That's the bank for banks. The central bank is the lead for the banks, not for the individuals. They're not going to have 350 million debit cards. So that's the question. It will take years. That is why there are many cash apps out there. Well, like I got PayPal, right? So if you buy my picks, I get a PayPal for whatever, and I transfer it into the bank. And then like today, I went and got money out of the bank. So I was a little nervous. I got like 15,000 out of the bank because I had transferred it in from my IRA, and I'm sweating going, I hope this isn't the banks go and say, well, we're no longer open, or I can't get them. They won't give me the money. They gave me the money. I was absolutely shocked, but I got the 15 grand. I put it in my safe, and I can relax. I pulled my money from my IRA because I really don't know what's going to happen with stocks. Bonds and dollars are going to go to zero, even though what I'm hearing is they won't. But how do you keep printing a dollar and it's not the lead currency anymore in a stays? Now, my Mercedes friend says, "Well, look at London, the British pound. That used to be the lead currency, and it's still there. You still use it, which is a good point. It was the lead currency. It no longer is. They still have currency in the UK. So maybe we go to that. But is that the same British pound that was there in the 1920s, which bankrupted them? They got bankrupt because of World War I. They had to pay for it. Wars are expensive. Russia needs to pay for their war. And that's why gold will go up, because Russia needs to pay for it and China needs to pay for their housing crush. China is broke, so they need to pay for it, but they're sitting on 23,000 tons. I was just listening to some idiot, and he goes, "Well, China's got 2,300 tons." And I'm like, so I read in his comments, no, they got 23,000 tons. He says, "Well, that's just what's reported." I go, "Well, don't tell me what's reported, because that's not the real thing. We know the real thing from my other guy who says they got 23,000 tons." But that's what it is. On a football note, in 2024 season, college football is going to a 12-team playoff with the top 4 teams getting a bye. Well, that'll be nice, because teams like UCLA, Utah, Baylor, the Kansas State, TCU loser, Ohio State are all getting screwed. Of course, they got to make enough room so Alabama gets in it, because even if they have 6 wins, Alabama needs to be in the playoffs, because it's Alabama making the playoffs. I don't know about the buys. I think they should just have 16 teams and let them play. So, all right, 7. Now, here's my thought. These games should be playoff games. So either you keep Michigan, Purdue as a playoff game, or Michigan doesn't play Purdue, because there's no point in being the Big Ten champ, right? You've played. You're the Big Ten East champ. They're the Big Ten West champ. Purdue. Do you need a Big Ten champ? But this isn't about that. This is to get into the playoff. So Michigan should be playing UCLA here to go in. Maybe Ohio State is playing Fresno State. Or maybe it's, instead of Clemson, North Carolina, it ain't even an ACC team, because they all suck. Maybe that's, I don't know, Alabama and Oregon or something. These secondary teams, because the pen's loaded, why does UCLA get punished? Why does Utah get punished? And why does Oregon and Washington get punished? All these teams are good enough to win the title. Are you kidding me? And the same thing with the Big 12. I mean, you did not have a bad team in the Big 12. Kansas, which is normally your bad team, was not a bad team this year. They lit it up. Kansas State, they're in the playoff with TCU. Texas is strong. Oklahoma's weak. Oklahoma State was strong until they got all injured. Baylor, we know, is good. And West Virginia and Texas Tech aren't that good. So there's about 3 or 4 good teams. Then the injuries beat up Oak State, Oklahoma, West Virginia. But you could easily add Baylor to this. K-State, Texas Christian, Texas, and Baylor are 4 good playoff teams. So that's why 12 is a joke. And the same thing with the Big 12. But Mountain West, okay, Boise, Fresno State, winners should be in the playoff. This is the point they're missing. Otherwise, what's the point of the game? So Boise State or Fresno, the winner wins North Texas. Okay, let them have the winner of the Conference USA. Troy, Coastal Carolina, okay, the winner of the Sun Belt. UCF Tulane should be a playoff game. The winner who wins that AAC should be in the playoff, and Michigan should not be playing Purdue. At worst, Michigan should be playing Ohio State to win the Big Ten, but they just did it last week, which Michigan won. So, okay, you can have them play Ohio State, or you can have them play UCLA, and the winner goes in. And actually, you got UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten in a year or two. I think they're going to the Big Ten, not the SEC. They're going to the SEC. Anyway, that's what this week should be. This should be the first round of the playoff. Having Georgia not try because they're already in is ridiculous. So therefore, Georgia should be playing a playoff game. So all of this week should be playoff. Then you have the neck. Then you maybe have a week or two off, and then Christmas week is round 2, and then New Year's week is round 3, and either that kills it or you play one more championship game. Then you actually have a real winner. Now you don't. I could argue UCLA is the best team. Who knows? All they lost, they beat Utah and they beat Washington. They lost to Oregon and they lost to USC. Did they lose to Oregon? But with that said, it doesn't matter that you lose a game or two. Look at the pros. KC's lost. Buffalo's lost. One of them is going to win the Super Bowl, but they have 2-3 losses. Who cares how many losses? Why are they looking at wins and losses as the predicate? Well, obviously you got to win your division and win your conference. Why does anybody care if they have 2 or 3 losses? We can't have a 2-loss team in there. Well, bullshit. You're going to have Alabama in if everybody loses here. And they got 2 losses. They should have lost 4 games. They should have lost to Texas. I wish Texas would have beat them. But with that said, that's what you got. Who cares how many losses? Are they a good team? And look at their schedule. Fuck UCLA, Utah, USC, Washington, Oregon. Yeah, okay. They played 4 tough teams. How many tough teams did Alabama play? Tennessee. That's it. They don't play Georgia. They don't play Florida. And the rest of the Mississippi sucked, and Auburn sucked, and they're non-con. Okay, they played Texas, so give them credit for beating Texas. But wait, Kansas State beat Texas too, I believe. So they beat Texas, and then lost to Tennessee and lost to LSU. So why is Alabama? Really they're okay. So they're a 2-loss team, but didn't play anybody. The best team they played, LSU. LSU and Tennessee beat them, and then Texas had them. So I don't buy that. But, yeah, that's a good idea, the 12 teams, I agree with. The new way will be a lot better, but how are they going to get the new way? So is it going to be more conference champions? Like Michigan, Purdue, the winner should be in, the loser out. Even if it's Purdue, if Purdue beats Michigan, they should be in the playoff because they won the Big Ten. Otherwise, what's the point of the game? If the point of the game is to get the Big Ten champ and not to do in the playoff, it's ridiculous. Who cares? Even if Purdue wins, Michigan's the Big Ten champ. Purdue lost like 2 or 3 games. Read one line up. I put it in. The new way will be a lot better. Read one line up. I put it. The new way will be a lot better. Am I missing something? On a football note, 2024 season, college football is going to 12-team playoff. The top 4 teams getting a bye. Yeah, I get that, but how are you picking the 12 teams? That's what my question was. One more up. Not easy, will take years. That is why there are so many cash apps out there. But that's not football. That's digital currency. But if you're talking, it'll take years for football. Yes, but if they're going to 12 teams, they've got to have a way to choose the 12 teams. What I'm saying, highway would be your division winners, including the K-State, Texas Christian loser, USC, Utah loser should also be in there, or UCLA. How do you choose your buys? And if you're looking at record, but they played 5 tough teams and lost 2 games, is that the same as Alabama playing McNeese State twice? That's my point. They're using 6 conference champs and 6 which 6 conferences? Well, I assume, let's see, SEC, ACC, Pac-10, Big 12, Big 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the sixth one? 6 conferences. So Michigan, TCU, USC's 3, Clemson 4, Georgia 5. So that would probably be the Tulane or the Fresno State. And well, there's not 6 major. Is the AAC a major conference, or is the Mountain West the major conference? So is the Tulane UCF the American? Yeah. Well, Cincinnati got in last year, but I would still Fresno State can beat anybody, especially with Hayner. I wouldn't count them out, but okay. So those are fine. Then how do you come up with your at larges is going to be the nightmare because it should definitely be UCLA's got to be in there with Utah, and then you've got to have Baylor and Texas in there and Kansas State. You got to have so if TCU wins, you got to have Kansas State as an at-large, and then Texas. Where do they get screwed for what? Or Baylor. So and then there's Ohio State in. So good luck coming up with 6 at-larges. I think you need more than 12 teams because you got 131 and you got more than 6 conferences. So you shouldn't screw the Conference USA guys, UTSA, I won. So that's where the problem lies is why doesn't every conference get in? Wouldn't the highest ranked group of 5 team get a selection? That's the way it works now. But how do you get the ranking? See, the problem is the ranking's based on win-loss. So if you have 5 wins, if you have 2 losses, you're not ranked high. You've got to be undefeated. But if you play a UCLA schedule, you're going to have 2 or 3 losses. Doesn't mean you're a bad team. Look who you played: Utah, USC, Washington, Oregon. Well, chances are you're going to lose 2 of those games, but they were good games, and they were they're still a very good team. That's the problem, is the rankings are based on if they're undefeated or not, right? So if they're 10-0, they're ranked in the 1 or 2, even though like a team like Kansas State, who has a loss or 2, is just as good as any of those ranked, So let's say Kansas State's got 2 losses. They're a top 5 team. I'm sorry. When I'm watching, they can beat anybody, as can TCU. And I keep laughing at this at the Detroit radio. Oh, TCU would never beat Detroit, Michigan. We want Michigan, Ohio State again. Well, we just saw the game, and I would bet TCU over Michigan all day, especially with Michigan's running back out. But even without TCU, very explosive team. Michigan could not handle that. They haven't seen anything like that. Same thing with Utah. Michigan cannot handle Utah. They haven't seen a quarterback like Rising. This is the problem. They could not handle UCLA. They could not handle Baylor. I mean, this is the point I'm making. Michigan played nobody. They played nobody. The best team they beat was what? Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa, Illinois. Illinois is probably the best team they played, and Ohio State. And none of them compare with the schedule that the Big 12 and the Pac-12 played. None of them. There's no UCLA on that schedule. There's no team close to it. And I don't think Ohio State's close to UCLA with what I saw. Their defense sucked, and their quarterback threw interceptions. They scored 24 when they should have scored 40, and they gave up 40 because their safeties were falling down. So I don't buy that Ohio State, and they didn't play anybody. They played Notre Dame with the other quarterback, and they didn't play anybody. So you're taking teams that have a weak schedule, like Alabama, and, well, they only had 1 loss, so therefore they're ranked higher than these other teams that played a killer schedule. So there's no rhyme or reason. You're not getting the benefit, UCLA, of playing Washington, Oregon, Arizona State, USC, and Utah. So they're getting no benefit by playing that killer schedule. That's the problem. So that's the problem I have with ranked teams. And look at the NFL. There's no ranked teams. You win your division, you're in. Even if you're Tampa Bay and you're 5-6, If you win your division at 7-9, you're in the playoff. And that's okay. Let's call that the ACC. But you should not be excluding the Mountain West, even the Sun Belt. Let them play. Let them have a playoff, have a real playoff. 7. The expanded 12-team bracket will feature the 6 highest-ranked conference champions as automatic qualifiers, along with the next 6 highest-ranked. Oh, there you go. So it's a terrible system because it's ranked. How are you ranking the teams? So a team like UCLA, who lost twice, is not ranked where they should be because of who they played, which is the problem. So that's really the issue. So anyway, I got to look more at the reset. I think gold's going to shoot real soon. And I don't know what to tell you with the banks. Will the banks close? Well, not in the USA. I don't know. I'm playing it prudently. I'm playing it smart. Assuming our credit card debt, our mortgage will go to zero. The 4 highest ranked conference champions will be seeded 1 through 4 with first round buys. The next 4 highest ranked teams will host the first round match. Wow, this is the problem. You're ranking teams. You can't rank teams. So I'm still assuming credit cards go to zero. I assume that the banks shut down and come out with new money or digital currency. I don't know, but I'm still buying gold and silver based on the premise that it's safety. It's an asset. So people like my friend at Mercedes saying, oh, no, it won't happen to the U.S. It happens everywhere. Okay, did it happen in London? They were the one seed, right? And then World War I happened. They had to pay for it. And the U.S., what happened is the U.S. charged them gold for a lot of the weapons they needed for World War II before we got in. So it's really hard to say. I think what normally happens is you come out with new currency. Like you have a new dollar, right? So right now you have fiat currency here. You throw this away and you come out with a new one. The Russians just did that with the ruble. So you come out with the new dollars. The problem is if it's not backed by gold, this goes to shit too. So if the dollar is fiat and backed by the government and not backed by gold, it's going to go out. And if we're not the world currency, it's going to go out. And the world currency right now is really gold. It's always the world currency. For the U.S. to not be on gold and be the world currency, you can see what's happening. All these countries getting out, the BRICS countries getting out, and it's not any longer the world reserve currency. Now, will it still be prevalent? Well, it's not going to have any value and nobody's going to want it. So I don't know. I think they got to come out with a new currency, but I don't know that the digital is replacing the dollars as much as it's a crypto. It's there. It's like Bitcoin. I don't know. It's very confusing. But that's where we're at. So I'll keep you informed on that. Again, good luck this weekend. The free plays, Seattle and the Jets. Free college plays tonight, USC over, and Fresno State tomorrow. So keep in mind, USC and UTSA are tonight. Everything else in college is tomorrow. And we've got the Thursday game. Buffalo's already in. And we got the full slate on Sunday, and then New Orleans, Tampa Monday night. And I like New Orleans there. So there's some games I give you, I like, I don't bet. It's, this is the expected outcome I perceive. And that's really what it is. So anyway, good luck. www.teaserking.com. Again, I got 5 locks going if you are interested. And we'll see what happens. Keep your eye on Green Bay, Chicago, and Aaron Rodgers feels we believe is probable. So if Rodgers is playing, it's an over. If he doesn't play, then I guess you bet the Bears. You can also bet the over. even with Jordan Love, he didn't look that bad that I think he'll still play. If he plays, it'll still go over because the Bears defense is so bad. I mean, how good is Mike White, or did he play the Bears defense? So that's what you got. Anyway, I think that's about it. I'll be on tomorrow morning, I guess about 10:30, since there's not too many games to go through, just to look at the lines. If we get any injuries, we'll talk about Utah, USC, and UTSA, North Texas. I expect them both to go over. Excuse me. And the pros are getting a little bit better on. Good games: Tennessee, Philly, Miami, Frisco, San Diego, Oakland, KC, Cincinnati, the Jets, Minnesota. So there's a lot of good games. Again, Buffalo, New England, the almighty Belichick. I like Belichick. It's all I hear on the radio. I like Belichick. He'll do something. He's nothing without Brady. I'm so sick of hearing he's the best coach that ever coached. There's one coach that was the best coach. That was Lombardi. Then you got Bill Walsh, Bill Parcells, Joe Gibbs, Don Shula. Those were the best coaches that ever coached. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's right up there, one or two. Because he did at Miami, and then he did it at Dallas. So, that's, as you can see, hard to do. Urban Meyer, he couldn't do it in the pros. Anyway, so that's what's going on. www.teaserking.com, and you can get my email if you want to email. If you want to do a 5-team, 10-team teaser, let me know. But you better do it soon because you got the 2 college games. So I would play USC over on a 5 or 10 teamer. And then we have the games tomorrow. I can play with the pros. So anyway, have a great weekend, and I will be here tomorrow morning to just look at the line and anything new that came up, like the Fields is playing and Stafford's probably out. So we'll get more definition on that. All right, everybody. Good luck to you. Have a great day.